Chef AJ here. Welcome. We're going to have a fun episode today. I'm going to be doing some cooking back in the kitchen, but first let me know that you can both see me and hear me. And then we'll get started.
We have people tuning in, but nobody's said given confirmation.
Because we've learned that it's always better to wait a second at the beginning than to keep shooting and then find out you couldn't hear a darn thing I said. We never seem to have a problem with them seeing.
Colleen says she can hear and see.
All right, we'll get started then. Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 39 of Weight Loss Wednesday. I'm Chef AJ, the creator of the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, and this is where I answer your questions about healthy, permanent, and sustainable weight loss. And the best way to submit a question is through my website at www.eatunprocessed.com. We do this every week live at 4 p.m. Pacific time on my Facebook page, and then within 24 hours I upload these onto YouTube, so please also consider following me on YouTube under Chef AJ and signing up for my mailing list. So thanks for being here. Edith, thanks for coming. So by popular request, I'm going to be doing a few things in the kitchen. We're going to shoot the whole episode here, so I'll be cooking and answering your questions. Got lots of questions today, great ones, thank you. Don't know if we'll get to all of them, but we'll certainly do our best. So I keep getting questions about the air fryer and the new baby iPod. So people want to see how to use the air fryer, and they have lots of questions. Everyone asks me, what's the best air fryer and what's the best pressure cooker, what's the best blender, food processor? My answer is always going to be the same. The best one is the best one and the biggest one that you can afford. Realize that my air fryer is purple because it's my favorite color. It was given to me for my birthday. So that's what I have. It's called the Cook's Essential. It's from QVC. It's out of stock now. My friends got it for me because they know I love purple. What I would say is do not get a small one. This is a 5.3 quart basket. There's very few pieces to the air fryer. It's the big hair dryer looking thing. It's the basket, which comes right off with this little thing, and then it's the other basket. That's it. All these things are dishwasher safe, by the way. This is the 5.3 quart. The 3.2 quart you will not be able to do anything with, especially if you're on the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, especially if you eat large volumes of food like all of us thin people that follow this way of eating do. I can barely get enough food in here for just me. So this is not even big enough for myself and my husband. I'm going to be going to Baltimore tomorrow to speak at the PCRM conference, and I'm going to be staying with Food for Life instructor Sharon McRae, who has the top-of-the-line air fryer. It's called the Breville Smart Oven, and it's big, and it's also a dehydrator. And I'm going to look at hers. It's $400, but you can get sometimes $100 off at Williams-Sonoma or 20% off at Bed Bath & Beyond. And if I like it, I'm going to buy that one and just use this one for travel, because this is way too small for me. It's only going to barely fit 2 potatoes, which is barely a mouthful. So again, get the best one that you can afford. This is not my area of expertise. I just did an interview with JL Fields. If you're subscribed to my mailing list, you'd know that because you'd already seen it. I consider her one of the experts. I consider Kathy Fisher, if you're watching, I apologize. Kathy Fisher is an expert in SOS-free cooking, but Kathy Hester, who's coming out with an air fryer book. JL Fields already has an air fryer book. Susan Voisin has a Facebook page for fat-free vegan air frying. JL Fields has one called Enthusiasts. I think it's called Air Frying Enthusiasts. And so these are great places to ask questions, because here's the thing. I don't ever read a manual. I never read a manual to my car, my computer, my iPhone, the iPod, whatever this is called, the air fryer. So don't ask me technical stuff. I'm going to just tell you I do everything the same. 400 degrees, 20 minutes. That's all I know. I'm like a one-button push kind of person. But one thing I do know is to preheat it. So you push this little middle button, and then you push the P for preheat, and then you push the button again, and it takes 3 minutes to preheat. You don't have to do it, but it's a great thing to do. So while it preheats, we're going to move on over to this new Instant Pot. I don't know if you can see how tiny it is compared to the other ones. This is the baby iPod. It's 3 quarts. I love it. Now again, I said always get the biggest one you can afford, which would be the 8 quart. And that's the one I use to do all my recipes, like my soups, which really don't fit very well in the 6 quart. But this is the one we keep on the counter now for every day. It takes up less room. This is where we steam our vegetables, cook our rice. It's fabulous. So, got to plug it in. And let's just show you how easy this is to use once I find the place that the plug goes. There we go. I literally checked the mail right before this episode, and this t-shirt, which I just ordered 2 days ago, already came. Why can't I get the plug in? It's upside down, that's why. There we go. Okay. So, just to tell you about this t-shirt, Ultimate Weight Loss Program, we eat veggies first. So we're hoping if you come to Vegas, you'll consider ordering this so we can all wear them at JP's boot camp, which we have a question about. And by the way, I love when you guys send me t-shirts. Even though you think I'm small, painfully thin according to some of you, and I can fit into an extra small or a small, this is a medium. I prefer my clothes comfortable. And I love this shirt. It's really soft. It's a tank. And I hope you'll get it. I don't make any money for this. They don't even know that I'm wearing this, the people that make it. All right, so I have got 3 cups of water in my baby iPot. This is going to be a great one for travel, by the way. And I've got a 10-ounce bag of cruciferous crunch. So this is what I do every morning. The first thing when I wake up is I make my husband's vegetables. Even though he's thin, he eats vegetables for breakfast, just like the rest of the world, or all other healthy people. This is something you get at Trader Joe's. It's a blend of kale, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, green cabbage, and red cabbage. But it's very easy to eat because it's cut very, very finely. So if you can't get this blend, consider making it your own. It's how it's cut that makes it so palatable. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm cooking these now for tomorrow because just to show you. And that's why I love this iPot, because I can cook my vegetables in it. I just put them in, close the pot. You always close it at 11 o'clock. Always make sure when I call the bird's beak is away from you, because towards you is venting, away from you is sealing. And then I press one button, pressure cook. That's it. 5 minutes. And then I push it away, and then we wait. So now let's get to the potatoes. And by the way, my pressure cooking class is sold out. Maybe there'll be another one, but it should be really fun. We're going to have 5 Instant Pots going at the same time. So what do I do in the air fryer? I've showed you in other episodes. I do vegetables. I do corn on the cob. I do mushrooms. I do cauliflower. I do broccoli. I do parsnips are amazing in here. And again, I generally just do everything at 400 for 20 minutes. I generally don't season anything because it doesn't need it. The air fryer is magical that way. It makes food taste delicious. Okay, so that beep is telling me the preheating's done. But what I really love to do in the air fryer is fries, either regular potato fries made out of russet potatoes. I find they work best, even better than Yukon Golds. They seem to be starchier and crunchier, but you can use any potato you want, or sweet potatoes. Now, you could certainly take a raw sweet potato or potato and cut it and put in the air fryer, or do it in cubes. It works great. But I found out quite by accidentally how to make the absolute crispest, best, most delicious fries was by cooking them first. I travel every week, and I always travel with cooked potatoes and cooked sweet potatoes with me because sometimes I can't get enough starch, planes are delayed. And so I came home and I had a couple of potatoes left over. They were already cooked, and I just thought, I don't want to re-microwave them. They were microwaved. I'm not afraid to use a microwave. Go to Dr. Greger's website, perfectly safe, retains the nutrients, but cook them however you want. But I don't recommend a wet cooking method. It gets too wet when you steam or use the Instant Pot. I recommend a dry cooking method like the oven. It just seems that the microwave is the fastest, and it seems to make the fries the best. Also, realize where I live in California, it's really, really hot. So the last thing I want to do is turn my oven on, which is why I love this air fryer, because it's been 100 degrees and it doesn't heat up my whole house. Air conditioning is not great and it's expensive. So what I do is I cook a lot of potatoes in advance in the microwave, and then I refrigerate them. That's the second secret, not just cooking them. It changes the resistant starch. I don't know what it does, but it makes the crispiest fries. So I've got 2 russet potatoes. These were microwaved yesterday. They were refrigerated. And now I'm going to cut them into steak fries. So what I do first is I cut them in half.
Have you ever tried these without pre-cooking them?
Yeah, it's just not as good. I don't know why it doesn't get as crisp. And I find it's a lot harder to cut a potato when it's raw. And you know, if you have a good knife, maybe. So what I'm doing is I'm going to cut it into 8. Each potato I get 8 wedges. I cut it into half, and then I cut it into half again, and then I'll take my second potato, cut it in half, and again, it cuts so much easier when it's cooked, and then in half, and then in half. Now, One of the reasons people say, oh, it didn't come out good, is because you overcrowd your air fryer, and you can't do that. There's little holes in there. You have to give it room to breathe. And a lot of people are asking me about the appliances for the air fryer, things people put in. Again, guys, not my area of expertise. Every time you ask me, I'm going to refer you to Susan Voisin or Kathy Hester or J.L. Fields, the people that are doing all this wonderful cooking stuff. Again, my answer to everything, when you ask what should I buy, the best one you can afford. Now realize that once you've preheated, this is really hot. You see this burn right here? That's because I forgot how hot it was. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to carefully place my fries in. And these may not all fit. And again, these are steak fries, but you need them this thick because I'm going to cook them till real crunchy. You can't put them on top of each other. They won't work. And again, you always want to have the skin on it because that's what's going to keep it from sticking, because remember, we're not using oil. That's the whole purpose we have for using the air fryer, is that we can make delicious, crunchy French fries, crunchier than any fry you've ever had without oil.
And there's no water.
No water at all. So you just want to put these there. I mean, even vegetables you don't like, or not you don't like. I never was a big mushroom fan. I mean, I'd eat them, but I never relished them. Oh my God, in the air fryer, see, I just did it. I burned myself again. See, that's why Charles says not to preheat it, but I need to get oven gloves that go all the way up. So there we go. And I'm not going to be able to fit all these in, because if I do, it'll be overcrowding and then they won't get crunchy. And that's why, unless you get the Breville, all air fryers, in my opinion, are just too small. I mean, you know, because I mean, 2 potatoes, you need at least 2 potatoes per person to eat. I think anything else is just not enough food, if you ask me. So I think I can get one more in. But you see that I'm not overcrowding it, and that's what a lot of people do. So there we go. I got, out of the 16 pieces, I got 14 in. I got 1 layer, that's it. Now I'm going to put it in. So now everybody's is probably slightly different. I call this middle button the home button, like on your iPhone. You press it once, it says 15 minutes. You press it again. The default on the air fryer is 370 for 15 minutes. Now I don't really understand what difference it makes, what temperature you cook it at. So what I do is I always raise it up to 400. Boom, 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 by this button, the up button. There's an up and down button. And then I know it's going to take at least 20 minutes to get to the desired level of crispiness. And I'm going to check it at 10 and show you, and I'm going to move it around. And then I take this other button, boom, boom, boom. I'm going to actually go up to 22 minutes. And that's it. And now we're going to get to the questions in Weight Loss Wednesday. So, if there's any questions so far on either machine. And again, you don't need an air fryer, but it's a game changer. I've never had anybody say the food wasn't absolutely delicious in it.
So Laura wants to know how rigorous the boot camp will be in Las Vegas.
So, Laura, if you go to the page you're on right now under video, you can actually watch a boot camp of John Pierre from Las Vegas that I filmed. I contacted him today. He says it'll be for all levels, and you can always moderate your activity level based on what you can do. You know, he'll have different levels for people at different levels of fitness. So you can just do it at your own pace. Like, for instance, if there's an exercise where you're running across the room and you can't run, well, then you'll jog. And if you can't jog, then you'll walk. So you'll be able to do it no matter what, I promise. And if for some reason you're injured and you can't do it, still come, be with the people, watch what the exercises are, learn. And again, please watch the video on this page, and then you can see exactly what the exercises are. But great question, Laura. And everyone, come to the boot camp and let's all wear this shirt together.
Natasha says she can't wait for your new book to come out, and she wants to know if there are any other compliant recipe books that you recommend.
You and me both, Natasha. Just so you know, mine's not a recipe book. It's not a recipe book. It's so if you're waiting for that, don't hold your breath. I still haven't decided if I'm going to even include recipes in it. So my book, and thank you all for your suggestions of titles. I appreciate it. I'm sorry, I'm so behind. I have 1,000 emails. I'm still behind from when I was in Mexico. Best place to contact me is on my Facebook page of Ultimate Weight Loss. That gets #1 priority over email. So I haven't thanked many of you personally, but we finally agreed on a title. We had to wait for the attorney to come back in town because everything we wanted was taken in some form or another. So the title of the book is it is called The Secrets to Ultimate Weight Loss, a revolutionary approach for conquering cravings, overcoming food addiction, and losing weight without going hungry, by Chef AJ with Glenn Mercer. So that's the title. I've got almost 30 endorsements, almost all of them from medical doctors, so I think it's going to be good. So when you say compliant, Natasha, I'm assuming you mean compliant with the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, which is a whole food plant-based diet, low-fat, SOS-free, and for most of us, nut-free as well. And so the only books I can recommend that are compliant would be half of the recipes in my previous cookbook, Unprocessed, Kathy Fisher's book, Straight Up Food, and Chef Ramses Bravo's book called Bravo. They do use some high-fat plant foods, but there's no oil, there's no sugar, there's no salt, and there's no flour. So those are the only two I know of, and I can recommend. Not very many people eat an SOS-free diet, and even fewer chefs are interested in doing this. So the thing is I don't even recommend cookbooks. I recommend that you use the 21-day recipe guide and find your favorite meals and repeat them over and over. You know, variety is the kiss of death for somebody wanting to lose weight or suffering from food addiction. As Heather Goodwin, who's now lost almost 300 pounds following the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, says, variety is the spice of obesity. So if you want to vary your grain, your bean, your legume, your type of potato, your vegetable, there's thousands and thousands of combinations. There's 18,000 kinds of legumes as there are. Change the sauce. Yummy Sauce has probably 20 variations. So I really don't recommend recipes because I think for people that are food addicts, just looking at the blogs, looking at the pictures, that can be very stimulating. So the reason people are suffering from food addiction or obesity or overweight isn't because of the lack of recipes. There's enough recipes out there. And there are many recipes that you can make compliant. But again, if looking at those hyper-palatable food pictures are going to be a trigger for you, it's probably better to just cook food. Watch my videos on my website, my webinars, what I eat for a day, for what I eat for a week. Simple meals, repeated over and over. Listen to what Shada says. Just eat food, not recipes.
Someone's asking about extra firm tofu.
Well, extra firm tofu is a type of tofu that's extra firm, and if you're following the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, I don't recommend tofu because even though there are health benefits to soy, edamame, from which it's made, is over 50% fat, so it's a very high-fat food. Tofu is minimally processed, as is tempeh and soy milk, which is much better than eating soy burgers and soy ice cream and soy protein isolate, but I don't consider them weight loss foods, maybe condiments at best once weight loss is achieved.
So, Karen asked, how do you reverse or make better osteoporosis in a man on this diet?
Well, the answer is in the other room, and I don't know if I can leave. So, because I actually interviewed Uber dietitian Brenda Davis today and asked her that question. So the way you reverse it or improve it in a man is the same way you would do so in a woman, and that includes weight-bearing exercises. It includes lots of foods high in calcium, like leafy greens. It includes possibly vitamin D, and they recommend getting your vitamin D checked and having it be not just adequate, but maybe even higher. So I really recommend that you read Brenda Davis's book, Becoming Vegan, the Comprehensive or Express edition. There's a huge chapter on osteoporosis. It's very helpful. There's another book by Amy Joy Lanoux called Building Bone Vitality. And also, if you don't have a plant-based doctor, you can try to find one at www.plantbaseddocs.com. Or, as I always recommend, have a consultation with one of the wonderful plant-based medical doctors at Tree North. It's less than $100, and they really know their stuff.
Pam says her morning veggies consist of the same type of veggies, zucchini, mushrooms, and leafy greens cooked in the Instant Pot. What type of veggies do you eat?
I eat veggies, any veggies I can get my hands on by any greens necessary. So, you know, when I was starting the Ultimate Weight Loss Program 5.5 years ago, I insisted it was greens, and I think they're preferable if people will eat them. But the reality is many people are not going to. The best veggie is the one you eat, the one you enjoy, and preferably you change it up a bit. So the answer to your question depends if I'm at home or traveling. And if I'm traveling, do I have my air fryer? Do I have my Instant Pot? So my go-to vegetable is squash, summer squash, like zucchini, the green, the yellow, which is called crookneck, the white, which I believe is called chayote, because it's very comforting to me, and it's not hard to eat. If I say hard, I love the cruciferous vegetables. I love raw salads. I love kale. I love my balsamic Dijon glazed Brussels sprouts, which, by the way, come out great in the air fryer. But they require a lot of chewing, which I don't often have time for till later in the day. I find zucchini, because it's so soft, it's pretty easy to eat, and so that's been my go-to. But for years, I did the balsamic Dijon glazed Brussels sprouts. I did the lip-smacking, mouth-watering kale with the onion and the garlic, and I also did the oven roasted ratatouille. Those things taste longer, but they're absolutely delicious if you're struggling to get veggies in for breakfast and getting them in first. So I think the best veggie is the one you'll actually eat. Switch it up a little. You know, when I'm traveling, there's times that I can't get the ones I want, and so I'll eat raw carrots, purple being my favorite. I'll eat cherry tomatoes. So I'm not really picky, and you know, oh, by the way, that beep, there's a new feature on the Instant Pot. That beep now is wonderful, because that beep tells me now it's under pressure and it's actually going to take 5 minutes. That's a very helpful beep, by the way, so because it kind of tells you that it's going to be ready. So that's terrific. You know, so I lost my train of thought. So eating vegetables.
Talking about traveling.
Oh, traveling. Well, whenever I can get traveling, and there are times where I travel internationally and I can't get veggies for breakfast, and I will use the green powders, and I know we have a question on that now. So the most important thing is to eat veggies, eat them first, and whichever ones you'll eat, you know, try to vary them a little bit. I think it's good for nutrient diversity to eat different ones. But again, the best veggie is the one you'll eat, and any veggie is better than not eating any veggie.
Julie asked, when you had your bloated stomach, was it heavy? Was it hard to bend over and breathe? I have this problem, and it makes physical tasks extremely difficult. By the way, the bloated stomach was caused by bulimia.
So if your bloated stomach was caused by bulimia or is being caused by bulimia, you didn't mention if you're currently in the disease or in recovery or what stage of recovery, you need to treat the disease that caused it. And the bloating is a side effect. Mine was completely different. It was caused by international travel, food poisoning, IBS, SIBO, different things like that. And so you need to deal with the bulimia, and the only person I could recommend that really has a grasp on eating disorders is Dr. Doug Lisle, and his website is www.esteemdynamics.org. $75 for a 30-minute session. That's cheaper than any therapist I've ever been to in LA. You can't get in the door for a 50-minute session for less than $250. See if he resonates with you, but you don't need lots of sessions. That's a great thing about Dr. Lisle. He gets to the heart of the matter very quickly. And so, no, mine was uncomfortable. I couldn't wear clothes that didn't have an elastic waistband. It was very uncomfortable. I wouldn't say so much painful. It was discomfort. It was kind of reminding me of like when I was pregnant. It was very uncomfortable. So yes, I could bend over, I could breathe, I could do yoga, I could exercise. I just couldn't get the tummy to go down for almost 9 months. So I'm sorry you have that, but please deal with the bulimia. Dr. Lisle is an expert at that, and generally people that binge, it's because of a history of restriction and not eating enough starch in particular, and he can help you. There is hope. I had bulimia for how many years? Oh, let's see. It started when I was 20. I don't remember. Let's see. 6 years. 6 years, from 19 to 25. It's a horrible disease. In some ways, I think bulimia, I don't want to say it's worse than anorexia, because obviously both of them can be fatal. But for me, it was pretty easy being anorexic, because all I had to do is not eat. I mean, it was cold and I was hungry, but that's all I had to do. But for bulimia, there was just a lot of stuff to do to maintain it, like over-exercising and using laxatives and diuretics and smoking, and it was just, I mean, they're both horrible diseases. I think they're flip sides of the same coin, because I don't think I would ever become bulimic had I not been anorexic for so many years first. So take eating disorders seriously, guys, and again, if you're anorexic too, Dr. Lisle is your man, because if you get conventional treatment in an inpatient in the hospital, you're going to be basically told that you can't be on a plant-based diet. That's what caused your eating disorder. Nonsense. Talk to Dr. Lisle. Maybe I'll do an interview with him just based on eating disorders.
A different Karen with a Y asked what foods to eat until heartburn subsides. Any other tricks or techniques that you know of?
So I'm going to answer that in a second, Karen, but it's been 11 minutes, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it, and I'm going to just show you what it looks like inside. You can shake it, or you can just move it around if they get, like, see, they got a little bit stuck together. So I'm just going to reorganize them. You can see they're starting to get nice and brown. So I'm just going to, and it's not too hot. It's the machine that's hot. The fry itself isn't bad. So I'm just going to get the part that's white facing up now, just to get that nice and cooked. But you can see why you can't overcrowd this. It will not cook if you try to overcrowd it. There we go. Can you smell these, Eden? I mean, don't they smell amazing?
So good.
Amazing. my God, for people that are afraid of air fryers, I feel so bad for you. So I'm just see again, like now I didn't get them to fit as good this time. So you don't want to overcrowd. So whoopsie, I'm overcrowding. There we go. So they're not sticking. You see, no oil, it doesn't stick. I'm just going to put it back in, push the button again, and we've got 1 minute left on the pressure cooker, which I'm going to deal with in 1 second. So I would ask your doctor, and again, I mentioned how to find a plant-based doctor or go to healthpromoting.com and have a session with a True North doctor. So the obvious answer is what to eat when you have heartburn, what foods to eat is whatever foods won't give you heartburn. Oops, I made a mistake. I pushed the button. So don't worry, I can start it over. Boom, boom, just push it again. I pushed the button twice. There's something about when you push it twice. And speaking of buttons, Karen, I'm going to get to your question. Now the Instant Pot is ready at the same time. Isn't this great? So I'm just going to put this back on 400. And releasing pressure, I can just press this towards me. You can give yourself a nice facial, high in antioxidants, save all that money on the spa. And I'm going to release the pressure, and while I release the pressure, I'm going to answer Karen's question. And so when anyone has any kind of digestive stuff going on, one of the things I recommend is going to True North and getting to the bottom of it. And the quickest and easiest way to get to the bottom of it is to do a medically supervised therapeutic water-only fast, because you generally will not have these things like bloating and heartburn when you're not taking in any food. And then when they refeed you, they can really do a careful analysis as to see what foods may or may not work for you. Not everybody can do that, I understand. I mean, financially, it's amazing. It's $149 a day. You never can even stay at a hotel in California for that, let alone get free meals and lectures and things like that. So what you can do is what's called an elimination diet. You can go on Dr. McDougall's website, drmcdougall.com. He talks about that. And what you do is you basically eat like 2 foods. You pick a starch. Most people don't have any problem with rice or sweet potatoes, so you pick one and you eat just that. And you'll pick one vegetable that you don't react to, like zucchini, for example, and you just eat that. For how long you eat that, I don't know, but then you slowly introduce one food at a time, and then you keep an accurate journal of your symptoms, whether it's bloating or heartburn. And the other thing you can do is you can go see an immunologist and get testing. They do it through the skin, they do it through the blood, they do it through the stool, but a good immunologist will probably tell you that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So even if you react, unless there's different levels to react, sometimes you have like a mild reaction, sometimes a bigger one. You can see this on your back, and they give you, I think, a number between 1 and 5, but they'll still tell you the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and it's not 100% conclusive, these tests. So again, be your own scientist with this. Okay, so my greens are ready. I'm going to unplug my pressure cooker. One of the things a lot of people don't know is that there's these little holes that you can do this, left-handed and right-handed. So again, I made this today, but my husband's not going to eat it tomorrow. And when people say, oh my God, I can't eat a pound of vegetables, really? Because when you cook it, it's nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just save this for him tomorrow. So I'm going to put this in this little cool collapsible Tupperware bowl, and he'll just eat it cold tomorrow, or he'll reheat it. He usually eats it plain. Every now and then he squirts a little lemon or lime juice on it, not just for taste, but you know, when you add vitamin C to your greens, you can absorb the iron in the vegetables even more, so that's a really great tip. So just doing that. Now don't throw away the liquid. The liquid is your pot liquor. Now I use 3 cups because I want a lot of pot liquor, and Charles accuses me of stealing his nutrients. I didn't need 3 cups to cook this. Now please understand that you have to have some liquid in a pressure cooker. That's probably the only way you could, mess up. You can't cook under pressure with no liquid. You could have cooked this with as little as a half a cup of water, and I could have cooked it for as little as a minute. I could have cooked it on low pressure, but he likes his greens very, very tender, and that's how he likes it, so I know. Now what I'm going to do is, and you can see this is nothing, this is not even a mouthful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my strainer, and I'm going to take my glove.
Do you want to lower the time on the fries? Because you're going to do 20 minutes total, right?
So I'll get to this. So I'm going to strain it so I get that. Anybody, how many people we got watching? Lots of people today, I hope.
Over 300.
Well, thank you guys. Remember, sharing is caring. please share, because if I can get to 400, Facebook will do something nice for me. I'm not sure what. So this is this wonderful water bottle that Nancy Norby gave me, and I use it every day. It keeps the hot foods hot and the cold foods cold. It's called Clean Canteen. I think it's from Sacramento. It's purple. So I'm going to be ending up getting about 27 ounces of pot liquor out of this. And I'll tell you, for those of you that drink coffee or tea, nothing wakes you up better than pot liquor. All pot liquor really is broth. I mean, people eat vegetable broth all the time. It's just what they call it in the South. So I'm just going to put this in here. My Clean Canteen is full, and I will drink this tomorrow, and it will be absolutely delicious. And this really cool strap was given to me by Leslie Haas. I love it, so I can wear it when I walk Bailey. And there's a little bit left in here, so we'll get that. But you can see that this is not very much food. When people say, oh, I can't eat that much, it's nothing. Nothing. You know, my dog Bailey eats more than this. She eats about a half a cup of carrots at every meal.
And she's a small dog.
And she's only 14 pounds. Okay, so I'm not worried. The time is fine for that. So did I get to Karen's question about getting that tested? So
Rosie wants to know, what can I do to make me eat earlier on the days that I work? And she means dinner. She's a day shift nurse. She works 13-hour days, can't eat or drink in front of people, and she's sometimes too busy to go to the lounge. She used to eat bars and nuts.
Well, did you eat the bars and nuts in front of people? I mean, where did you eat those? But to backtrack, sorry about this, to Karen's question, a lot of times heartburn, or have you been diagnosed with acid reflux, GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease? Because I can tell you, are you eating any processed food at all? Any oil, any sugar or flour? Because my husband Charles had horrible reflux. He had to take medicine and have endoscopies and raise the head of his bed. And the minute he went unprocessed and stopped the oil, the sugar, and the flour, and all the vegan fake foods, his heartburn went away. So that's the other thing. So again, I'm not sure if she's saying she's just gets to work really early and works a 13-hour shift, or she's doing shift work, which is at different times. But here's the thing. So I don't work in a hospital. I did for many years as a respiratory therapist and then as an activity director, and I actually volunteer in a hospital right now. And even in the emergency room, I mean, people get breaks. And I mean, obviously you're in the operating room, you're not going to be chowing down. So you have to make time for self-care. It's health-care. I don't recommend people eat when they're not hungry and do what's called preventative eating. I interviewed Dr. May, or Dr. Moy, I'm sorry, Michelle is her first name. And preventative eating is sort of like putting gas in a car where the tank's already full. It really doesn't prevent you from being hungry later. It's like putting a coat on now because it's going to be cold later. So if you can't eat and drink in front of people, then you need to excuse yourself. You need to be able to take care of yourself. I don't know of any job that doesn't allow you to do this. You've got to make this a priority. And as far as I understand, you can't be eating in front of patients, but even in the emergency room, I see them drinking. I mean, I see them eating, but I see them drinking. And so what I recommend is getting a really good wide mouth thermos and making soups. And I'm not talking about just vegetable soups, but starch-based soups, things like my red lentil chili or my split pea soup, and then blending them in the Vitamix so that you really can drink them. I mean, you know, if you have, I mean, I'm pretty sure that almost every job allows you to drink water, right? I mean, if not, then call Human Resources, because I think that's against the law. So if you've got a clean canteen like this, and by the way, they become bigger, and you take a starch-based soup like one of my recipes, and butternut bisque or kombucha curried soup, and blend it, you could be sipping on this throughout the day, and nobody's going to know that it's soup and not water. So that's one of the things I recommend. But you guys have to design a life that's going to support your health. And if you're that stressed that you can't get 5 minutes to eat or go to the bathroom, then get another job. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, if you're a nurse, I mean, I know there's so many openings, at least where I work, but not work volunteer, but I mean, I see them eating. I mean, I go to every department. I go to ICU, I go to CCU, I go to the ER, I go everywhere but the morgue, and I see nurses taking time to eat and they cover for each other. So I don't understand why in 13 hours you're not getting a break. That sounds like it's against the law. And, you know, drink, you know, make smoothies then if you have to, but you have to get your nutrients in and your nutrition in. And, you know, I mean, technically I would say to regular people, not that you're not a regular person, you could fast. I mean, you could do that without eating, but then, you know, you need your energy and things like that. have the food ready, and then when you get the break, eat it. But again, I think having these blended soups that are high in starch are lifesavers. If you don't want it hot, you could do it cold. I mean, there's certain soups like gazpacho that I suppose could be, or vichyssoise that are like a potato soup that could be cold. But you have to find time to eat, guys. I mean, seriously.
Do you want to take those out of the air fryer?
Okay, I'll take a look at them now. But see, here they are, guys. And see, for me, they're never crunchy enough. I want to, you know what? I'm going to stop it now only because we want to eat these for dinner. And so we're going to reheat them. But you can see, like, these are absolutely amazing. I'm going to let them go a little longer, but not right now. But it's so easy. It doesn't stick. You know, you can shake them around like this. If you wanted to use seasoning, you can. But these are the most crispy, incredible, delicious fries. I could literally eat these every single day.
And people can add spices if they want.
They absolutely can. It's probably easier if you're going to add spices before than after, while the potato is still slightly wet. So here we have, this is what I live on. Starch and vegetables. Vegetables and starch. Rinse, repeat, veggies
And you
first.
eat as much as you want, whenever you want.
Absolutely, I do, until comfortably full, you know. That's the other thing. People don't understand what comfortably full is. They say, I don't know when I'm full. Well, yes, you do. Because if you didn't know you were full, you would literally never stop eating. So we're going to talk about that in future questions. You know, you do know when you're full. You just want to keep eating because you're not eating for hunger. You're eating for emotional reasons. And then you're never going to feel full.
Right. Pam asks if there's any downside to having a little green powder. Yeah. JP recommends every day versus traveling only, she says.
Okay. So let's see if I can find it here. Sorry, I should have pulled it out. Well, so I asked JP and he said no. So what the green powder is something that we recommend in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program for people that absolutely will not eat vegetables. It helps alkalize them. It's a powder that's basically made out of greens, and you want to get one without stevia because stevia is not recommended in any weight loss program that I think is worthy of doing. It's certainly not recommended in this one because it causes more cravings than even sugar. It goes through the same refining process as drugs and alcohol. So these green powders, you can buy them just kale at Costco, just organic kale dehydrated. You can make it if you have a dehydrator yourself. And so what they do is they help alkalize you. And of course they don't taste very good, especially if you're not used to eating vegetables. So what you do is you take your big water bottle and literally start with a pinch where you barely can taste it. You work your way up to a 1/16 of a teaspoon, and then an 1/8, and then a quarter. And the idea is this is it alkalizes you because you're acidic, and that because you're eating, if you are eating animal products and processed food, you're very acidic. You know, you can always tell the worse that vegetables taste to people, greens in particular, the worse their diet is or was, and the longer it was, because people that eat poorly cannot stand the taste of vegetables, especially the bitter ones. And so this helps you work your way up. And so I don't use these on a regular basis. I use these when I travel and can't get vegetables, like when I'm on the cruise ship. But a lot of people use them, they keep them in their water and they sip it all day just to kind of keep the cravings at bay, sort of like when they use the essential oils for the same reason. So I think it would be better to eat your vegetables if you can. But JP says there's no downside to it. I mean, I don't know what the cost is of it. I always get those little tiny bottles and they're not that expensive. But he says there's no downside, especially if you're buying a pure brand that's organic, that doesn't have all kinds of crazy stuff in it, that's just greens, then, you know, knock yourself out by any greens necessary.
Anne had a question about motivating yourself to do strength exercises at home. She says, I walk 60 minutes a day, but don't have a gym to go to, and I have a hard time motivating myself to do the other things I need to do, like lunges, weights, abs, etc.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, how to motivate someone is not my area of expertise, because I always think of the saying by Zig Ziglar, motivation doesn't last, and neither does bathing. That's why you have to do them daily. And so if you can't find your why that you want to do it, it's going to be really hard. But you can always pay somebody to motivate you, because a lot of times if you're paying somebody, you'll do it just because you're paying for them. And so what I would recommend is booking a session with JP, or you say you don't belong to a gym, but you could find a personal trainer in your area, because there's something that happens is that when you're accountable, especially when you're financially accountable, when you're paying somebody, you're probably going to do it. So when I first joined my gym, which was now, how long have I been exercising? 4 years now. I actually signed up for the personal training with, his name was Billy, because I knew that at first that was the only way I was going to go. I don't need that anymore. But as far as the weights, you know, we talked earlier about osteoporosis, and it's that's going to help prevent and even reverse that if you have it. And that's my weakest link. I'm great with the exercise cardiovascularly, great with the flexibility with the yoga, but I'm terrible with that. So what I've started to do is I have weights ranging from 1 pound to 5 pound. I got them at the garage sale, and I can't show you this because we're in my kitchen, but I have them all over the house. I have some by the couch if I'm watching TV. I have some in the bathroom. I don't have any in the kitchen right now, but that's what you can do, is move them around the house. But this is where, again, JP is the same price as Dr. Lyle, $75 for 30 minutes. I really don't know how to motivate somebody. I think motivation has to come from within, and I think it's often harder to motivate somebody to exercise than it is even to eat right, because the effects of not exercising take longer to show up than the effects of eating poorly. And the thing is you know, eating well can be delicious, whereas if you look at the conservation of energy principle in the book The Pleasure Trap, which is part of the motivational triad, you know, if we're designed as organisms to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and conserve energy, well, most of us look at exercise as not exercising is conserving energy, and exercising is actually painful. So again, find a way to love it, make it fun. Dr. Dean Ornish, who I heard speak last year at the Plantrician Conference, said people will do more to go towards joy than to avoid pain. And so saying, well, if you don't eat right, you don't exercise, you're going to get this horrible disease and die, that's not compelling enough for many people. But if you want to look and feel your best, and you want to have arms like BJ or Kristen, who are in our group, you know, that might be a motivating reason for you to exercise. Do you have a vision board? Do you have pictures on the vision boards of yourself looking really fit? You can take a nice fit person, not an anorexic person, but a person that looks fit, and put your face on it. But again, you have to find your motivation. You have to find why you want to do this. And for me, avoiding something like surgery and osteoporosis, for me, that's a compelling enough reason to do something. Again, you don't have to like it, but you're a grown-up, you just have to do it, and you have to make it a priority, and you have to make yourself accountable. You know, one of my mentors used to say, this was for something else, this is when my first book was being written, he set deadlines for me. He was my coach, and he said, you know, for every day you don't turn in your pages on time, you got to give $100 to the Nazi party. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. So, you know, find somebody to be accountable to, whether it's a coach that you hire, whether it's an exercise buddy. That's a great way to get started, and just do it. I mean, I know that sounds cliche, but really, you don't have to like it, you don't have to want it, but if you want health, and health is not just from the eating, you know, we're designed to move our body, our ancestors moved it all day, you're going to have to start doing something, because you don't want to be debilitated and waste away like the people at the nursing home that I worked at, that they can't even toilet themselves and get out of a chair. For me, that's really motivating. The thought of anybody wiping my ass makes me want to get up and exercise, because I don't ever want to be in that dependent position.
Some people say motivation is bullshit.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter how you feel, just do it.
That's right. I mean, I don't, it's like, oh, I can't eat vegetables, I don't feel like it. Well, I don't care, I really don't care how you feel. I mean, I care, but I mean, you don't have to feel any particular way to do the right thing. Do those of you that work, do you always bound out of bed like, oh, I can't wait to go to work, I can't wait to pay my taxes? You're a grown up and you do it. That's what being a grown up is. You just do it.
Chris said in an interview you did with Dr. Lyle, he said binge eating comes from a competitive drive and a drive to lose weight. I think this is true for me. I want to lose 10 to 15 pounds and have a very difficult time not focusing on this goal instead of focusing on my overall health and well-being goals. How do you go about changing your mindset from weight loss goals to lifestyle changes?
Again, that's like in the last question, I don't know how you do that, and that's why we have Dr. Lyle, who's a tremendous resource and friend to the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, and I think you should book a session with him, and these are great questions, and I think he can help you with that. If you want to lose 10 to 15 pounds, it doesn't sound to me like you're overweight, because there's a broad range of acceptable weights within a height. It sounds like your BMI is perfectly normal. Now, I know people want to be thinner for different reasons, and I'm not saying you couldn't or you shouldn't, but not everybody is going to be very, very thin. It's based on your genetics. It's based on a lot of things. As you get older, it can be harder if you're not exercising at all. There's factors like that. And so one of the things you have to understand, that health is not just how you look. It's how you feel and how you look inside your arteries. And if you are 10 pounds away from what you think is your best weight or your goal weight, I can understand if you've been that weight before. Women that have been thin, they don't like not being thin anymore, but sometimes as you get older, you're just not as thin as you were when you were a teenager. Your arterial health is what I'm more concerned about, and how to get you to care about that more than your physical health, well, I don't know. One of the things I'd suggest is going to Vegas or finding a way to get the BIA done, the bioimpedance analysis that Dr. Carrie Saunders does, and gives you like a 30-page report to find out what you really weigh, because we don't use scales in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program as tools for measuring our success or our self-worth. The BIA tells you what you really weigh in terms of your bone, your stool, your intracellular, extracellular water, your muscle. And so JP recommends that people in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program actually gain weight. And by that he means by lifting weights, because muscle weighs more than fat. It's metabolically active. You'll burn more calories at rest. So how muscular are you? Are you working out? Because I would focus on those goals instead of a number, because I don't want to say you have disordered eating, but it sounds like you might, because that's usually what happens when people obsess about their weight, and that's why Dr. Lyle can be very helpful. But how to get you to not focus on that? Well, one way is to throw your scale away, because then Christy did a video where she actually took a hammer and broke her scale up. That's one way you can't focus on it if you don't have it. And this is where I think therapy is really useful. Most people in the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, myself included, need some kind of therapy, because as John Pierre has been saying for 8 years, if you don't deal with this, you can't deal with this and this. So again, I don't know how to change your motivation. I don't know how to change your thinking. That's what cognitive behavioral therapy does. That's what Dr. Lyle, his expertise is. And for $75, it's certainly worth one session to see if he resonates with you, because again, it's not long-term therapy with him. It's like one and done for most people. He's that good. So, I would ask you why you want to be 10 or 15 pounds lighter. If you told me that you were up for a movie, if you were an actress, that this could be your Academy Award, I would say, hey, well, okay, we got to get you down to that weight. But how is this going to make a difference in your life, your health, your happiness? If your arteries are clean enough, why do you need to be 10 or 15 pounds heavier? Is that really going to affect your self-worth? And so when you're 10 or 15 pounds less, now you're going to really love yourself? Now you're going to be happy? See, I don't think so. Because if you're not happy now, weighing 10 pounds less isn't going to make you happier.
Sherry has a question about eating enough. She says she starts her day eating salad first around 10 a.m., I would assume. She usually doesn't get hungry again until about 3 or 4 p.m. Okay. She then has another salad and she's stuffed. She's not hungry till the next day. Is this normal? Because she would add a sweet potato, but she stopped this past week because she's not hungry. Is this okay?
I think it's absolutely okay. I'm assuming you need to lose weight. If you are losing too much weight, only eating that amount of food, then you need to up your starch and replace some of your non-starchy vegetables with it. But realize that if you're overweight, you still have fat on your body. So you're not going to starve because your body's eating that fat. If you could go to True North, you would understand that people that are slender are fasting for 40 days with no food, on water only. They're not fasting, obviously, to lose weight. Nobody fasts to lose weight. They're fasting because they have medical conditions like autoimmune disease or things that they're trying to reverse, or unretractable high blood pressure. But if people that are very thin, like Dr. Esselstyn, can fast on water for 40 days, we can eat 2 salads a day and maybe a sweet potato and be fine. The litmus test is, do you feel good? Do you have enough energy to do what they call in the hospital ADLs, your activity of daily living? If you're falling asleep at your job, and your job is a truck driver, then no, you're not eating enough. But if you feel good, if you have enough energy, and if you're losing about 2 pounds a week or less, then it's perfectly fine. Remember, guys, nobody could have ever become overweight or obese unless they ate outside the demands of true hunger. And so we need to really learn, instead of doing these programs that tell us to eat a certain amount of food at a certain time. I just got this new client, and her breakfast, according to this program, is 1/4 cup of oats and 10 blueberries. Oh my God, this is insane. No species in nature ever has to worry about how much they eat unless they're people that are fed by humans like cats and dogs or other humans that are eating the wrong diet. So this is good for you that you're learning to get in touch with your true hunger, eating when hungry, stopping when full. Congratulations. If you ever find that you are so hungry that you can't sleep at night, that you can't perform your work, then maybe we have to up your starch and decrease your vegetables. But the other thing, realize, is that Americans eat over 92% of their calories from animal products and processed food, which has no fiber, so there's no satiation, has no water, so there's no bulk, it has no nutrients. You've got these things lining your digestive tract called the mechanisms of satiation, stretch, nutrient, and calories. And most Americans have been eating a nutritionally bereft diet for so many years that when they finally start eating foods like vegetables, the foods highest in nutrients, it shuts off the hunger light sooner. So good for you, and I think you're fine unless you find you're sleepy or can't get your work done.
Karen had a similar question, and she said, I never thought I would say this, but I'm having trouble eating enough volume. I'm consuming my veggies throughout the day because I get full after eating half of a pound. I'm adding potatoes and rice to my meals when hungry, but there are some days I'm only eating 2 pounds of veggies and 2 potatoes before I'm full. I have lots of weight to lose. Should I be concerned with volume?
It cracks me up because this now cooked is a half a pound of vegetables, and I don't know how anyone could get full on this, because if I eat anything less than 2 pounds, I'm starving. But I'm guessing you probably, like Sherry, have weight to lose, in which case your body is eating its own fat, it's got plenty of energy reserves left, and you're finally getting in touch with true hunger and meeting your nutrient needs from eating vegetables. So again, unless you don't have enough energy, then it's perfectly fine to get full and to stop eating. If you're tired and you can't do what you need to do, then we have a problem. We need to add more calories in the form of the starches. But this is great, guys. People would kill to not be hungry. I mean, people are doing these weighing and measuring programs and are told just to white knuckle it and use willpower. When you follow the Ultimate Weight Loss Program, it's the only way you can actually eat to natural satiety without being hungry, and you guys are proving it. So thank you.
So Caroline kind of has the opposite problem. She's a volume eater, like you and I. And she says, I've gotten good at eating only when hungry. It's the stopping when full part that is the problem. I tend to overeat, mostly vegetables and some starch and fruit, especially at dinner. This interferes with my sleep, even if I stop eating more than 3 hours before bedtime. Do you have any strategies for when to stop eating when, quote-unquote, full, to me means stuffed?
Okay. Well, so here's the thing. Is this only happening at night in your evening meal, first of all? Because this is when people seem to have all the gremlins come out, because night eating is generally emotional eating. People work all day, they're able to moderate their intake of things like drugs and alcohol and hyperpalatable foods, but then they get home and they can settle and things are quiet, and often they're eating for reasons outside of hunger and survival, for just enjoyment, boredom, loneliness, stress relief, whatever. So I would first of all address that emotional component, because I used to do the same thing at night and just eat like 5 bananas just because they look good, and I didn't like the way I felt. It wasn't really impacting my weight, but again, it was late at night and I didn't like the way I felt. I actually had Dr. Roger Gould come and speak to my live program, and if you live in LA, why aren't you taking the live Ultimate Weight Loss Program with me? I mean, I don't understand. We have speakers like Dr. Gould and Dr. McDougall and Dr. Lyle and Dr. Goldhammer. Got to take the prerequisite class, the 3-hour Healthy Made Delicious cooking class to get into it. But anyway, so that's when I took his course, the Shrink Yourself course online, and I stopped doing that because I realized I was eating completely for emotional reasons. So first of all, I would address that. Second of all, I would address your environment, because if you have any non-compliant food in your environment, you're going to have this behavior, and I'm convinced of it now after working with so many people and interviewing Dr. Lyle on Mastering the Environment. You know, people say, well, it's okay if I have this non-compliant food because it's not my favorite, it doesn't call to me, or maybe I'm an ethical vegan and it's not vegan, or maybe it's not my favorite flavor ice cream. But here's the thing, if you've read The Pleasure Trap, you'll know this, and if you haven't, I encourage you to read the all-time best book on the subject by Lyle and Goldhammer. You are genetically hardwired to eat the richest food in the environment at all times until it's gone. And if you've got any non-compliant food in the house, and even if, let's say, you're a kosher ethical vegan and you've got some unkosher non-vegan ice cream in the freezer, your brain still knows there's concentrated food in the environment. And even though you might be able to use your ethics and your willpower not to eat it, your brain is saying there's concentrated calories. We have to have them. We're starving, because your Stone Age brain is still in charge here. And so what you'll do is you'll overeat on calories to the left of the red line. So you'll overeat on volume to get more of that dopamine, thinking you're going to get, you're going to survive. And so I think that anytime you have these high-fat, high-calorie, non-compliant foods in your environment, you're always going to be triggered to, if not eat them at your house or outside your house, but you're going to be triggered to eat more non-compliant foods. So the other thing I would say is all non-compliant foods has to get out of the house. There is no reason to have it. We learned from Dr. Lyle that a loving family member will always support someone in these healthy decisions, and they can eat these outside the house, and there's never an excuse that you should have these foods in your house. So that's the other thing. I'd want to make sure your environment is clean. The other thing you can do is just eat earlier. I mean, I've seen you're not overweight. So if this isn't impacting your weight, maybe you're really not overeating. I know that when I eat my salads, which are like this big, I think, oh my God, what a pig. I mean, I must be overeating. But I'm not. It's just that we're so used to eating animal products and processed food with no volume that we forget that we do need these large volumes of food like our ancestors ate to feel full and to get all our nutrients and to get all our calories. And so because most of our lives were spent weighing and measuring our food and eating skimpy portions, that we forget. But the truth is even like at lunch when I have the salad, I go, oh my God, I'm so full. An hour or two later, I mean, I'm ready to eat again. And so I think if you eat so much food that you're not ready to eat again in several hours, then maybe you are overeating. But the other thing, you told me you're doing intermittent fasting. And psychologically, that might be causing you to overeat because your brain says, oh my God, I got to cut off at this time, so I better get it all in now. So maybe give yourself permission not to do intermittent fasting so that you don't feel like you got to cram all this food in this narrow window. Intermittent fasting is a tool for people that are close to their ideal weight. You're at your ideal weight, so I don't know why you're really doing it necessarily, so maybe stop doing that. The other suggestion I have for you, Carolyn, is consider not sequencing your meals. So we sequence our meals eating the foods lowest in caloric density first to fill up on the fewer calories if we're trying to lose weight. You're at goal weight. You don't need to do that. So eat the starch first and then maybe eat less vegetables. You can try that. So I'm giving you like 4 suggestions. And the other thing is look, if you put fruit in front of me, I'm going to eat it all. Can you show these bananas? You're lucky I'm not eating all these because I had to save these for a recipe. But the truth is I can't not overeat on fruit. Fruit is just too delicious. As somebody that was a sugar addict for 43 years that ate no fruit, now fruit is like crack to me. So it's not that I don't eat it, but I don't eat it by itself because if I do, I'm going to eat a pound. So what I do now is I put my fruit in my salad so it's mitigated by some of the vegetables, or I'll put like unsweetened pineapple in kale. So again, I'm using the vitamin C to absorb the greens. So I almost never eat fruit by itself because I just can't control myself. So I hope those suggestions were helpful. Let me know.
I think we're done. We can save the rest of the questions for next week.
Wait, no, can we
do you want to get to one?
Well, there's one that I really, so we should stop, huh? You know what? We ask them if they want to keep going. I hate to, do you guys want to keep going or you want me to stop? It's been an hour. Ask them. What are they saying? I don't want to bore them.
Nobody has responded to that yet.
Yeah, are they still there?
Mm-hmm.
Darn. Well.
Do you guys want to comment and say whether or not you want to keep going?
Because I had something planned. Anybody there?
Keep going, Rachel says.
Okay, all right. I'll talk real fast. I'm sorry, this one will be a little longer. I just feel bad because I printed it out. So let's go. There are 3 more, and I'll go real fast. I promise.
Okay, so Carrie asked, are there any people for whom a strictly plant-exclusive / vegan diet is not optimal? For example, I often hear people who have been diagnosed with adrenal fatigue or some athletes say that they're under the impression that small amounts of animal products help their bodies. Okay, so I asked Brenda Davis this question today on the interview. It's going to come out. Make sure you're signed up at UNPROCESSED.com. And she said there are people that have been eating a high-meat diet for so long that do not feel their best transitioning quickly to a plant-based diet. And those people should do it more slowly. But she said absolutely not. There is nobody that needs to have meat on their diet because she said that all the amino acids that are in animal products are from plants.
So the answer is no, that was a short one. But it is true that some people will not feel their best right away, and therefore they need to go slower.
People also don't feel great quitting cigarettes or cocaine.
Absolutely, so. Exactly. That's they're going through the pain of withdrawal and detoxification, which leads to the next question, which I'll try to answer quickly for Colleen.
Colleen asked, can you give some suggestions for getting back to UWL, ultimate weight loss, after a relapse? I know it's wise to not relapse in the first place.
Well, it is wise because the best defense is a good offense, and it is so much easier to stay compliant than to keep trying to become compliant and having to go through that detoxification withdrawal again. So again, we're always going to go back to this. Is your environment clean? Because if it's not, I don't think you're going to succeed. Not long term, and not to the degree that the Shadas and the Heathers have, because you're always going to be drawn to eat that rich food that your brain knows is somewhere in your environment. So the first thing I recommend, and again, in Vegas, I'm doing a whole lecture with JP. We call it the Ultimate Weight Loss Reboot Checklist, which is how to recover from a relapse and how to prevent one in the first place. And we have a list of 10 things. But number one, the most important is your environment, because that's always where all roads seem to lead. I've had one relapse in 5.5 years, and it was so excruciatingly painful physically and emotionally, because the first two people I saw after eating non-compliant crap was Dr. McDougall and Dr. Goldhammer, which I took as a sign from like heaven not to do this anymore. So it takes about 3 days to recover from a relapse. If you watch the YouTube I did with Dr. Doug Lisle from Emory University, it's called Weight Loss Wisdom for Dr. Lisle, you're going to struggle for 3 days to get back on track. So how to do it quicker? Well, you could fast. I don't generally recommend water fasting at home, but green juices, maybe mono eating, not necessarily potatoes, but just like some watermelon. Just do what we call fruits and vegetables days, but you're going to have 3 hard days. And is those 3 minutes of pleasure from the dopamine that you get from being non-compliant worth the 3 days you have of struggling? See, to me, it's not a clean abstinence, it's an easy abstinence, and it's so much easier to stay compliant than to keep having to neural adapt all over again. So again, clean up your environment, go to True North, and come to Vegas, and we'll help you with the Reboot Checklist.
So last question.
Great.
Molly said, I will be booking a vacation home for the extended family soon. One of my sisters is also vegan, but the rest of the family are following a paleo diet. I can handle my environment and food, no issues there. But how do I control myself and not comment or lecture them on not feeding their precious children that crap? It's hard not to feel smug that I'm healthier.
Okay, so here's the thing. So I have no patience or tolerance for people that eat animals, and I would much rather be alone in my little environment with Charles and Bailey than interact with people that are contributing to the destruction of the planet and the harming of animals. So I can't be around that. And as far as what would you say, see, I wouldn't say anything because I wouldn't put myself in that situation, because there's, to me, no relationship that's so important that I have to be around that kind of abuse. What I loved about Brenda Davis in the interview today is she's not just about health, but she says if a diet is not also ecologically and environmentally sustainable and ethically justifiable, then it's not the right diet. And I find that people that eat a paleo diet are very, very selfish. The research done by Dr. David Katz said that if everybody ate paleo, we'd need like 27 planet Earths to sustain it. So I would have a hard time not saying something, so I wouldn't put myself in that situation. I would make sure that you are the absolute best and healthiest you can be before you start talking about this. And unfortunately, people don't like this, but they do judge us on our appearance, and part of our appearance is our weight. And if we are still overweight trying to teach this stuff, they often don't listen, because as you know, people said to me for years, if the vegan diet's so good, why are you so fat? So this is not to fat shame anyone. This is just a reality. Listen to Dr. Lisle's podcast Wednesday at 8:30 called Beating Your Genes, and he talks from an evolutionary perspective why women have such a hard time when they're overweight. So I would get yourself to your best self. It doesn't mean skinny, but your fittest, your ideal weight, which isn't always what you think it is. Like Chris, her ideal weight may be where she is right now. And so the only way I can say to prevent yourself from saying something is to get a little piece of tape like this. I don't know how else you can do it. There's my little lipstick. So I was able to blast through those questions and only get you guys over a few minutes. If you have any more questions, please submit them at eatunprocessed.com. Please consider getting an air fryer so you can make the most delicious French fries in the world. And I hope to see you guys in Vegas. There's still a few tickets left, September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And I thank you so much for watching episode 39, another episode of Weight Loss Wednesday. I'm Chef AJ, and I truly believe you can have both the health and the body you so richly deserve.